Hello and welcome to a very special show today, a little bit different for you. This is the one to answer all your questions in relation to something completely different. First of all, how do I deal with a financial market that holds me back and never allows me to get to what I want in my financial dreams? The Australian dream, what is that anymore? Can a young person today, or any person, in fact, ever own a house, pay it off, and get onto that pathway where you can actually do what you want to do, make life for living? It seems now that life is about survival, life is about fighting, life is about all the things that are wrong being divided. Diversity now means division. It doesn't mean unity. Regardless of the political system here in Australia or around the world and the West, we're now asking questions. How can I restore life and build up to what I always thought I was born for? And that is to find my dreams, live my life, be happy, find joy, and when times get tough, take the growth or the lesson. That's all there is to it, really, isn't there? Find joy, take the growth. Nothing more than that. And so, looking for opportunities. Is an opportunity thinking that you're going to buy a shoebox in the middle ring of Sydney for $1.4 million and spend eternity trying to pay it off whilst going to work in a rat race, hating what you do, thinking, is this all there is? Well, I'm going to tell you there's something else, a better way, something different. I have been looking at this for a very long time. When I woke up somewhere in the 90s and said, enough is enough, I don't like this anymore, I'm going to change it. And I've been following ever since, reading books, meeting people, studying, learning what due diligence means, reading realestate.com, walking into display homes, asking questions and seeing the same old things, getting into a market, getting out of a market, buying multiple properties, learning how to deal with finance people, finding as a broker the right way to go. Do I need to go to the banker? All of these great questions. Well, guess what? Years and years and years have been distilled. From the moment that I saw the movie Zeitgeist in 2007 to Zeitgeist Addendum, and I met Jacques Fresco, and he presented something that blew my mind. Well, we're not going there, but I'll tell you what we're going to do is we're going to do this mix today, and I'm going to show you something that will blow your mind, and I'm going to bring in the man right now that is effectively the inventor, the creator, and the one who can talk all about it. His name is Jamie McIntyre. You know that I do work with Jamie on Australian National Review, and I've asked him to come along today because I don't think anyone else is going to be able to explain it as well as Jamie. Here he is right now. Jamie, thanks for joining me today.
Always a pleasure, Jason.
Good to see you. And I'll tell you what, these pictures that I am seeing, I mean, I know that most of them are artist impressions, but the photograph behind me, the little one, that's real. The picture that I've got on the background there with these towers emerging out of Lombok, this is something else. Now, it's one thing to see what you're doing in Seminyak, but to build an entire... Now, I'm calling it to my friends and some people are calling it like a Monte Carlo or something. I call it a middle-class Monte Carlo. It is entirely attainable, and you can start as small as you like, but it's a start to something magnificent. And I'm sure it's not just an isolated city idea somewhere in the world. This can be duplicated everywhere, and the purpose is it's for people, real people that really exist.
Yeah, it is an interesting concept that really came about. We're basically building a freedom city, and it's a first prototype because, as you know, Jason, with the work we do with the independent media, Australian National Review, the West is in decline, and there's a brain drain already starting from Australia and other countries where Westerners, since COVID lockdowns ended, many said, I don't trust the West anymore. I don't want to live here. I want to go and find somewhere else to live. So that turned Bali into the global refugee camp, and other places like Mexico, Tulum, and Dubai has become very popular, Thailand, and many other places. So I left Australia 3 years ago, and after navigating the planet to look for the best location, I ended up choosing Bali. And then about 6 months ago, I discovered land in Lombok, which is 100 kilometers from Bali, the next big popular island. And an island full of white sand beaches and some of the best surf breaks on the planet. And really, I was already building resorts and hotels and villas, for predominantly Australian investors of mine. That then the idea came, well, we really need to build a city and cities around the world. We can't change everything in the world that we would like. We might, obviously we talk about politics and geopolitics a lot. There's a lot of things outside our control. We'd like to make Australia great again. but we also have to live and make our life great again as well. So we looked at, I've been a predictor of trends, as you know, Jason. I predicted the rise of Bitcoin, I predicted the rise of Australian property markets for the last 3 decades, predicted the rise of the US property market from 2010. And my clients have made effectively now about $10 billion collectively. I don't say that to impress people, impress upon people. If you're able to accurately predict trends ahead of time, then you can make billions of dollars for clients, and you can make millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars for yourself just by seeing the future before others see it. So there's clearly this exodus happening from the West because people, for whatever reason, mostly the cost of housing in the West is too expensive. It's becoming unaffordable. And some people say, well, I can't really afford to leave Australia. Well, the reality is in the next few years, most people can't afford to remain living in Australia. So whether people are just looking for an investment overseas to diversify, I say, Jason, we probably need to look at relocating ourselves, all our money out of the West, including Australia. So we're not going to relocate ourselves because, we might want to leave. We've got a big family. It's just maybe too difficult. Or we want to stay here, but we still want to have some diversification in our money and assets out of Australia. Then I think that's why Bali's boomed and now Lombok and these other countries, because it's a similar time zone to Australia, the same time zone as Perth, amazing weather, and everyone's comfortable with Bali. I mean, it basically is like an Australian island to some degree. It's people are friendly, lovely, and it's cheap in comparison, even though it's becoming more expensive in comparison to Australia, which has become property prices, absolutely insane. I was just speaking to an economist then on the McIntyre report about how it's $270,000 now salary needed for to afford the average home in Sydney. I mean, that's just absurd, right? And that's a crap house in Sydney, where we're able to produce properties for a house for $99,000 Australian in Bali and in Lombok in Marina Bay City. So we're not just talking about a concept. There's the example there of one of them. It might just be small, but that can generate $400 a weekly rent from expats looking for somewhere to stay, or even more nightly rates for people wanting a holiday. So that's just a simple example of the cheapest sort of villas that we can build. But if you go up and look at some of the studios or the apartments, we're building and have been building for the last 2.5 years. Incredible pricing like there. For under $100,000, you can have a modern studio that will generate over $2,000 a month in rent, but all the way up to luxury mansions. So it's certainly affordable, great weather, great food, great people, and digital nomads. Now we can work from anywhere in the world, as you know, and obviously we're attracting fintech, med tech, tech industries, etc. So a lot of people, a lot around the world want to now live in what we call a freedom city. We want to get away from the track and surveillance, track and trace, the plans, the Global Economic Forum and their Agenda 2030, and you'll own nothing but be happy. I just think a lot of people are rejecting that Klaus Schwab nonsense. And I warn people that the West, globalism is slow creeping communism. And the way they'll do it, they can't just take your private properties off you because you'll be rioting in the streets, but they can do it slowly by increasing your property taxes, increasing your other taxes, increasing regulation. And guess what? That's what is like clockwork, what we predicted, where people said that would never happen in Australia. Well, in the Gold Coast right now, if you have a property above 5 stories, you'll pay a 40% hike in a view tax on your rates, even if you don't have a view, even if you're looking into a neighbour's high rise. They're now proposing, as you know, in Australia to tax empty bedrooms. They've already increased property taxes in Victoria and destroying that property market. The writing is on the wall that people should certainly be relocating some of their money out of Western banks and some of their property out of Australia. Australia's done so well. My clients have become very wealthy from Australian property market, including myself. But I cashed out of a lot of Australian property and I haven't looked back. If people knew you could 10x what you can do in Australia in emerging markets like Indonesia, Indonesia is set to become the 4th largest economy on the planet by 2050. It's an economic powerhouse. It's a democratic country. It's a peaceful country, traditional values that the West once had. I'm very bullish on it's joined the BRICS, which Australia should do but hasn't yet. The BRICS are the future. We see this geopolitical shift as well. We're seeing the money now flowing from the West to the East, and Asia is an economic powerhouse. So all these factors are trends that we want to be a part of. Do we want to be hitched to a dying Western economies, or do we want to jump on or diversify to the boom of the BRICS type Asian nations that are leading the way? And I can tell you now from personal experience, Jason, just by shifting to Indonesia, becoming a migrant, leaving Australia, leaving your village. I think every person should leave their village or leave their country, at least for part of their life. It changes your mindset and you do better. Australians that have moved to Bali, how many have built successful businesses? A lot of people go, what would I do if I moved to Indonesia or Bali or Lombok? It's like, well, one, you could walk into pretty much any industry with Western IP and dominate. See, in Australia, if you've got middle-class Western IP, you have 27 million competitors, the Australian population. So your knowledge is not that valuable because everyone has it. But you take that knowledge of Western IP and plonk it into a third world nation that's emerging and growing rapidly. All of a sudden, what might have been worth $100,000 a year income in Australia could be worth $1 million to you in Indonesia. I could walk into any industry, whether it's, for instance, I buy excavators, machinery for my property developments. Why? Because the amount I had to pay in renting machinery, I could pay off a machine in 9 months. So there, if I wanted to, I could go into machinery leasing business like, Kerry Stokes did, and many others have in the mining industry in Australia, make an absolute fortune if I wanted to. I could work the amount of furniture I have to buy to fit out all our luxury villas for our clients. I could walk into the furniture industry and start a business in Indonesia and dominate with my Western IP. And I'm saying that not about me. I'm saying that we all have that in Australia. We have Western IP or in the West that we undervalue. You're getting underpaid in the West. If you live in the West, you have so much competition. And then the money you make in the West, they take half it off you in tax. And, then the cost of living, of renting or owning, you're broke at a higher level. You're broke at a higher level. And it's only going to get worse before it gets better. How bad it will get, no one knows, but total uncertainty. Where people have the chance now, Jason, middle-class Australians could cash out or borrow against their sky-high home price of their properties. They've done well in Australian property if they've bought some. They could take that arbitrage into emerging markets like Indonesia or wherever they want to invest and buy it, at a low price and make that 15, 20, 25% rental returns. Capital growth has been extraordinary. And diversify and live off their passive income. You don't even need an income. How many Australians can retire off just the passive income of a villa, etc.? So if they leave it too late, my concern is this. If people leave it too late and leave all their money in Western banks, a few things that are being planned. The US is going to get rid of its debt by putting into stable coins and exporting to the rest of the world. That's their plan. So the money's going to be devalued. Australians are going to leave their money in their bank accounts. I predict within a matter of years that there'll be a bank run. They'll shut the banks briefly and go, well, your money's safe, but we're going to give you a Reserve Bank digital central banking coin. Instead of your $200,000 in your bank account, we'll give you $200,000, what effectively is a shit coin, and that a track and trace, expirable, programmable money. Like, do you think it's bad now when they ask you everything about your money? If you try, what are you spending that for? Why are you transferring that money? Why you want $5,000 cash out? You interrogate it, right? If you think that's bad, how they treat you now, or you've posted something on social media and been debanked, like, tens of thousands of Aussies or millions around the West, including myself, already have been, where they can just turn off your bank account because you might oppose a certain nation dropping bombs on children and thinking that's okay. You oppose that, they'll debank you. So it's going to get worse with programmable money that's coming. The Reserve Bank of Australia is one of the leading nations on the planet for planning to introduce that. So you won't have your money. You'll have a token, which the government will fully control in the future. If you leave all your money in Australian property, you might have to, what if things get really bad, really violent in the West, and you go, I can't have my family living in an unsafe country anymore. I need to leave. Sorry, you can leave, but all your assets must stay in Australia because we're not going to let you ship out of the country. Quasi-capital controls are already in place now for Australians under consumer protection, of course. Try and get money out of a significant money out of Australia now of a couple of 100,000 or more, and see if you're not interrogated. Why are you sending this money overseas? These things are writing on the wall. You'll own nothing but be not very happy. So at the moment, people can exit and have a holiday home as a plan B, as an insurance policy that makes them a lot of money overseas. But if they leave it too late, Jason, my concern is, what if Bali gets too full, or Indonesia gets too full and goes, look, we don't want any more foreigners anymore. You know, we've got too many immigrants. What do they have? You know, like Australia now, we have too many immigrants. We don't want any more. The smart money's already leaving Australia in the West.
Yep.
Don't be part of the dumb money. Hedge your bets is what I would say to people.
Now, there is so much to cover, and to paint the picture, like there's always two parts to this. There's a reason that I feel that I'm not achieving what I want. There is an explanation as to why. And in order to realize that there is some alternative, you've got to be open-minded and go, holy moly, look what I've just seen. But at the same time, you have to be disrupted to the point that you realize, because the whole world's disrupted, but I need to take action. Now, what you have been able to achieve with Marina Bay and the marketing material I'm going to show in a moment is to show you just what is possible for everyone's highest hopes one way or another. Now, I'll say this at the outset, this is not for everyone, and for whatever reason, no one is forcing you to do anything that you don't want to do. But at the same time, being presented with something like this, you might just go, this is what I've been waiting for my entire life. So given those two ends of the spectrum, let me just show you something now. What I think we might do, Jamie, is I'm going to play a clip for you from Lombok. Runs about just under 2 minutes. We'll play that. We'll come back because I want to show you some photographs that I think most people watching now will go, wow, this is something out of this world. Let me play the clip and we'll come to you straight back. Here it is. How about that? That is something out of the box. Wow, Jamie, you just get to have a glimpse of what's possible. And you've created this, look, out of years of experience, dealing not just in thousands, but millions and now billions. There's something about scale and possibility and belief. And there's also the idea that you must be knocked out of your comfort zone in order to make change. So if you're watching this and you're in your comfort zone and you're happy with the way you're going, this isn't for you. It's just not. But at the same time, if you are uncomfortable and looking for opportunity, and then there's the other thing. Oh, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Well, we're going to show you now that it's not too good to be true. It just is what it is. Jamie, let me just show you some pictures. Now, this is me just doing my own general research. And I'm just going to run through the pictures in order from the brochure. First of all, this is just a bit of information, then we'll get into the fun stuff. Here's something that I saw. Booming Indonesia. It's number 4 in economy size and growth, projected to become the world's 4th largest economy, not just in our lifetimes, but in 2.5 decades' time. This is extraordinary. And when you realize where Indonesia is located, this may be the reason why Paul Keating thought it was the Asian century. And of course, he's vilified one way or another. And we don't have to talk politics. I don't want to talk politics, but it just shows you that there's different ways to look at things. But let's go a little bit further. I'm flicking through and I just see this, for example. This picture here just blows my mind because that's literally creating something out of nothing. And that's only a progress photograph because you can see where the rest of the development is coming from. And we're looking at these pictures to start with. Here's another one, just to give you an example. And you can see the scratching there at the ground where there is some construction underway now. We'll go a little bit closer. So that's an example of what's going on. Now, then you have a look at a photograph like this, and you're talking about one of the bars / restaurants, an artist impression of the view that you're going to get in and then out. So you know that you may, if you've been to a resort in your lifetime, you know what they look like. But let's go a little bit further on the hillside. This is the one that I mentioned that blew my mind, Jacques Fresco, Zeitgeist Addendum, when he's talking about whole new worlds being built, these tiny little type of egg homes. But it's just unbelievable when you consider how far, Jamie, I'll come back to you, we haven't progressed in 70 years. I have been complaining about this for a very long time. I feel like we've been stagnated. When you see photographs coming out of Shanghai or parts of Asia or parts of the Middle East and the progress that you see, and you look through our streets, even in the United States, UK, Australia, we have none of this progress whatsoever. We seem to have stagnated. Australian architecture, to be critical, has always been underwhelming. It's simplified. You look at the Opera House, one of the most beautiful buildings ever built in the world. You walk inside, and it looks like IKEA. I mean, it is so underwhelming the way that the architecture works. Let's go back here. Look at this. Now, we've seen these photographs where you think, new estates, etc. But if you saw a new estate today in northwestern Melbourne or southwestern Sydney, and you saw a home like that, you're looking at about $2.5 million starting price for a palace at the top end, or Bella Vista in northwest Sydney, for example. But I'm going to show you something now, and there are other pictures I want to get to. But look at this. This is what I saw in the brochure, the Australis, great name. And you have to think that this is one of those expat type of homes. Let's have another look, shall we? Look at this. And then we take another one. And then you see this one particular design, right? you're just chomping at the bit. Tell me more. It's got to be $2 million. And then, Jamie, you do what you always do. You knock everyone out of the stadium when you come up with this concept. Now, the lot size is small, 150 square meters, but there's a reason for that. The build size, I assume that's the ground floor platform there, because it's a 6-bedroom, 6-bath home. $499, is that right?
Yeah, the actual lot size of that's actually bigger. I just noticed that's an error. But yeah, no, they start from $500,000. So Australian, which it sounds absurdly cheap, but in Bali or in Lombok in Indonesia, and that's even on, you can get properties that are very inexpensive, and then that's what the difference is. When we're building cities like this, and as you showed there, the construction's already started. That beautiful restaurant you're talking about starts very shortly and will be open by January. Some of the villas people will be staying in, by Christmas. And then obviously the city will continue to expand. There'll also be some high-rise towers. We're also sensitive to nature and community feedback. And you've got those, the eggshell type homes. So building, it's a mini city of different little eco villages to suit different tastes, etc. And it will be one of the first properly planned cities too in Indonesia. So a lot of people are critical of developers, but it's like, hang on, sometimes we need some high rises to stop urban sprawl of taking up, like all the Bali rice fields, like were destroyed for urban sprawl. Yeah, they're chaotic roads, etc. So we're trying to overcome that and reduce, the pollution issues. And be environmentally sensitive and build like a prototype of a city. Go, well, we might be able to change the governments we disagree with, but how can we change the world one city at a time? So this is really the first expat city, and we want to, basically roll these out around the world. But, a freedom city, a wellness city where health is a big issue, where people are super healthy, and it's bringing together like-minded people. You might, when you move overseas, you might know anyone, but you can join here a community of people, of like-minded people, similar values. What people, people are awake to what's going on in the world. That will help each other. Your neighbors. They're the people you want to be around. So it's really bringing back community and rebuilding communities, and also conscious to, we have to build these cities that's not just for expats, but also, for, people that live here, etc. So, the houses like that are extraordinarily inexpensive. So for $500,000 in Bali or in Lombok gets you a hell of a house. But of course, that would cost you $5 million in Noosa. I call it really a Noosa house. I used to live in Noosa. And that particular house I'm building for myself in Lombok, in Marina Bay City, shortly, because I love that type of house, that modern, Noosa style home.
They're the homes that you see in those lotteries that they say it's worth $3 million, and you get some gold bullion, and you buy, these tickets for $100 each, and that's kind of what you hope to win. And yet here you are for $500,000. If you've got equity in a property in Sydney and you've had it for a couple of years, you might decide that that you've already got that much money available and there's opportunities. But it's not all necessarily about selling up and running away, and we're not advocating for that process. But what we are saying is that if you find that what you grew up in doesn't suit you anymore, and you decide that you want to have alternatives, maybe you're planning for retirement, maybe you want to live 6 months overseas and 6 months at home, or move in with the kids, or whatever it is that you want to do, it's about opportunities and options. So what I'm going to show you now is just a few more images that I think are really important to see. This is an example. I'll take that off there. Now, if people have got questions, I've just put my email up on the screen. In the first instance, you can send me an inquiry, and I will be able to give you the right direction, where to go in the information you can get, because you need to get hold of brochures, you need to get hold of salespeople, etc., and we'll give you that first point of call. A tropical resort, Jamie, $79,000 is a place that you can get into. You can then move up to here we go. That's an example there. It's 25 square meters studio, hotel room size. You can then go up to a 1-bedroom pool-top villa, which is pretty exciting. That's something that we don't see here in Australia. There's a few more photographs for you there. I'll give you another example here of what you might be able to expect inside and outside to give you a view. Then you go up to a Cabo Oasis, little tiny different shape there. Here's a floor plan as an example. Swimming pool built into the individual property, so it's a private swimming pool. A few more details there, or photographs at least, to give you a look. So very sort of bohemian type of look there. Pricing approximately, they do change because you've got a special there in one of the resorts at $129,000, and a rental estimate return, gross rental between $4,000 and $6,000 a month. Gets pretty exciting. A couple more pictures there to give you an idea. You've even got the option that you can build a rooftop as well, staircase up, and extra space as well. And I don't think that was too expensive. What, $20,000 or $30,000 to do something like that's pretty cool. And we'll come back and clarify. But here you go. Look, some more options again, more properties. This is an example of one particular property, $199,000 for a 2-bedroom property there. As an example, here's something I think is pretty cool. This is called a 3-bedroom splash villa. Built into the side there of a hill, I assume. This is another one you're looking at here is what they call bamboo. It's a bamboo type of home. It looks like kind of like a Bali version of a Paddington Terrace for something different as well. There's your splash villa to give you another idea. And this beautiful home here is a 3-bedroom Lily, which 3-bedroom sunken lounge room. Oh, that's a different one again, but it gives you the idea. I'm going to show you some pricing now. Here we go. A Seminyak Resort first floor studio, $99,000. Rental estimate $22.50 a month, represents a 20% return on investment, to give you an idea. Now, out of that, there'll be costs, and we'll discuss that in a moment. 1-bedroom villa, $159. Cabo Oasis, $149. Some more numbers here. I've already given you that one. Sorry about that. And I've already given you that one. Moving through, a 3-bedroom Lily gives you an idea at $379,000. Potential to earn $12,500 a month in rent, $100,000 net. So you've obviously got costs of administration and management, etc., if you choose those, and taxation. But that gives you an idea. Jamie, I'm going to play another quick break because we only got a couple of minutes left. But I want people just to get the idea. This Villa Lily as an example, just to show you what it looks like. We'll go through this quick walkthrough and we'll come straight back. Take a look. cut that off there, but tell you what, it is something else, isn't it? When you think that, and I think those prices have been since updated, but under $400,000 for a fully furnished, fully complete, 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom, living area, swimming pool. And it's a 7-meter swimming pool, from my understanding, which is pretty much what you, if you're lucky, you can fit into a suburban backyard today in Sydney. So it's got everything that you would want, and you can use it as an investment property that people will come and stay into a designated area. It's not just built into a street anywhere in Bali. It's a self-contained resort. But my understanding is that you can also come and stay in there yourself, and if you needed to or wanted to, you could live in your own property. Am I right there?
Yeah, I think why Lux, my property company's done so well. I mean, initially I built it to build my own property portfolio. That's what I predominantly do. But we're building other properties, so we thought I will let my investor clients that I've known for many years, or people that are recommended, referred to us, so yes, we'll accept them as a client. That are like-minded people can buy into our projects as well. So that's what we started to do. But yeah, you can. These come fully furnished too. So those prices, are fully furnished. But also, I think other people go, well, who's going to manage them for you? Our Lux Accommodation is a management company that we have. They handle all the management, so you don't have to do anything. So we have investors that have got property with us that have never even come yet to see them. But if you want to just live in them part of the year or block them off, you can block them off as much as you want, even though we add resort facilities and they're part of a resort or village or Marina Bay, part of a city. It's up to you how often you want it rented out. But when you're not using it, we'll rent it out for you, and you just get a monthly check, of your profits. Or you can we can help you set up your overseas bank accounts for you. If you want to live here, do you need visas? We can help you all that. Basically, a one-stop shop. We can have the people around you who can take care of all this, tax questions, all that. It's handled. It's actually extremely simple, Jason, to buy Indonesian property. It's much easier in Australia. And now some people might go, but what if I need finance? I can't afford the full amount up front to buy these properties. Then we also provide 60% funding. As long as you have good character, you basically just need a character reference. Like it used to be when you go to a bank manager in a small town, 50 years ago, if they knew your family and you had good character reference, they'll give you a loan, right? Well, now that doesn't count in Australia, but we do. We base our funding on character reference. If you've got a good endorsement letter by someone that we trust, we'll give you 60%, funding, 0 interest. Jason, 0 interest. We detest the charging of interest. I think that's ruination of the world. Banks in debt, slaving people into debt to pay off a mortgage all their life. That's why Australians are stressed if you have a mortgage. I mean, it's disgusting. There should be no interest ever charged on loans, and we don't. It's 0 interest, 0 repayments. We simply wait till the property is built and take it out of the rent and pay off your property in 3, 4, 5 years. Not the 25, 30 years you pay off in Australia. So it's amazing what can be done here. This innovation, affordable property, a whole new world. It makes it easy for people that want to have a holiday home overseas, or a lot of people now. I think, Jason, ever since the last federal election in Australia this year, it used to be before that people were buying as a holiday home. Now many people are going, look, I'll buy it as a holiday home, but I'm actually considering potentially leaving Australia. The amount of people that are now wanting to consider leaving Australia or starting to research that, Jason, has gone through the roof in the last 6 months. And I think in the next 12 months, we're going to see that trickle start to turn into a flood.
Now, just looking at some of the properties, just some simple questions. So if you can buy the property privately in your own name, or you can buy through a self-managed super fund. So I assume that both are possible.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly can't give advice on self-managed super funds, but yes, we have clients that have done that consistently.
That's the main thing. Yep. So that's the main point. So that gives people the opportunity. Okay, well, that presents something else, because a lot of people would be scratching their head saying, well, I've got super, I'm not really happy with it, but now that I learned that, self-managed super fund, I might go and explore that option and see how easy or hard that is. But if people are doing it, then it's possible. That's the point. Now, do people have to set up a company to own these? Do they own them in their own names? What's the general gist of what people are doing there?
Yeah, as I said, it's much simpler in Australia because there's no banks involved. So buying property in Indonesia is incredibly simple. Some are leasehold and freehold as well. So in Lombok, we can do freehold. You just pay 20% extra if you want freehold, otherwise leasehold. You just buy them in your own name initially. They're off the plan, so you enter into a pre-sales contract for us to build them for you. And then when it comes to they've completed, ready to take over your property, we then suggest at that point you can the advisors that we work with, and they can set up a company structure for you at that point, because that's better for managing the property ongoing for tax purposes, much better. The tax is quite good in Indonesia, way better than Australia. So pretty much anywhere is better than Australia. So it's pretty simple tax-wise. So it's not a headache. But no, you can buy a property today. It's just a lease agreement or pre-sale agreement. You sign it in your own name. Just need a copy of your passport. Done that, because there's no banks involved. So it's that simple. Build your villa when it's ready. Then if you want to set up a company, you can. Then how much? I think about 2,500 Australian to set up a typical Indonesian company, but that would give you significant tax breaks at that point. You certainly don't need to do any of that until your property is getting almost complete.
So they're powerful concepts for people to explore. What's the next stage for the person watching this now that wants to get in touch with one of your team? Do they go to a website? Do they have an email? I put my email up there before just as a stopgap for people to go, okay, this is great. Where do I go next? What should they do?
Yeah, they can just certainly go mention you send you an email, or if you have a WhatsApp, they can WhatsApp you and you can pass the details on. Or Bali Free Report or LombokFreeReport.com. They can go to that and start, downloading all the information. Just let them know, tell us that you heard about us on the show with Jason, so we know what information you've got. That starts the education process of really, watching a lot of videos, getting a lot of information, asking your questions. Really get yourself, educated. So then you can become an educated investor. If this resonates with you, if you feel it's something that you want to do, right? It's certainly not for everyone. We are selective with who we work with. We can't build enough properties for the amount of people that are fleeing Australia or want a holiday home. Of course, they're very affordable. So a lot of our clients are coming back buying second, third, fourth, fifth property because it's an extremely good deal. And once they're comfortable with investing overseas, welcome to come. People can come anytime too, Jason. We do a monthly tour of Marina Bay City. I host personally myself. People are welcome to come. Anytime they can come to Bali and check out our 3 projects there in Bali that we're building away and be given a free tour, etc. So we're very transparent. People can check it all out. It's not for everyone, as you know, Jason, but it's really getting yourself started. So the next step is get yourself educated. Ask your questions. Obviously, contact you as well, and our team are happy to assist where they can.
Well, likewise, my interest has been as now a third decade property investor, and you're always looking for value, you're always looking for return, you're looking for innovation. And when you have the reasons why something becomes desirable, it used to be 25 years ago, Jamie, if you were going to buy in the outer areas, you needed to know that you had a double garage, otherwise you wouldn't get rent. Simple things like that made sense because people knew what they was desirable. Well, like going and looking at a menu, you eat with your eyes. I would assume the same would be applying for people right now. They would be eating with their eyes. And before you go, I just want to run through a couple more photographs for people just to give you the idea of what we're looking at. This is becoming an absolute reality at prices that you thought would not possible, but then you realize that we've been pushed into a system that absolutely sucks you dry from the ability that you're always on the margins. Every time you think you're ahead, the rent goes up. Every time you think you're ahead, the price of something else goes up. And here you can get in at prices that in the Western world were 25 years ago. This one here, the Australis, is just something that just blew my mind when I saw it. I think it was the last one in the brochure. And that brochure, if you'd like to email me, we'll get that to you, which is important there. jasonqcitizen@gmail.com is the place we can get that. I'm just going to remove it so we can just see the bottom there. But there you go. $499,000, even completed at $595. If someone was to purchase that, I reckon they'd be lining up, Jamie, for a completed look at a property like that. You'd be saying, "Can I have one of those for $595? I'll be there tomorrow." It's very, very exciting. Thanks for taking the time to share that with me. And of course, this is all business is business. Success breeds success, but you've got to start somewhere. And when you see something as exciting as this, the question is, well, what to next? last question before we go. Marina Bay is brand new on Lombok. How soon do you expect that people will be moving in there to live there?
Yeah, good question. Obviously, holidaymakers will be the first people, so we expect to take our first guests, ideally by Christmas or January. As far as people maybe moving there to live, I think some time later next year we'll start, or mid next year we'll start taking on residents. We will start, obviously, marketing a lot more. I think a lot of expats in Bali will want to start relocating and moving out of crowded Bali. It's 100 kilometers across to Lombok. There's 20-minute flight. We're adding fast catamaran service to the city, which will be an hour and a half or less just to Marina Bay City from Bali. So once those things are all added, I think I think in less than a year there'll be quite a few residents already living there. But within 6 months, people will be able to come on a holiday and stay in Marina Bay City and see if it's a place you want to spend part of your life or maybe all your life at.
So for an airfare of probably under $1,000 return, you can go over and have a look and go on one of Jamie's tours. You might take a trip to Bali for a holiday, catch the boat over to Lombok, go on a tour. It's entirely up to you whether you want to or not. And of course, if you decide that you don't want to buy in Lombok, there is still property available in Seminyak on the main island of Bali. Is that true?
Absolutely, yeah. We still have our 3 projects we're completing in Bali, and villas some have been complete, and there's about 100 getting close to completion, which will be finished by December. A couple of hotels as well. We also have a wellness retreat we're building in Tabanan, which will open in 6 months. So yeah, we're certainly very busy, but we're really excited about Marina Bay City. And I'm off in a few weeks scouting other potential locations for future cities. Plenty of islands, 17,000 islands, Jason, in Indonesia. Very big population and such stunning beaches and stunning food and beautiful people. Leaving Australia, as much as I loved Australia, has been the best thing for me. And I mean, Australia is a good country to be a tourist to visit. Once you leave, you realize it's not really the best country to live. There's more out there in the world to see. It used to be a great country, but it's not what it used to be. But there's great places, and if you want to stay living in Australia, holiday in Indonesia, or vice versa, it just gives us options, and I think is the way the world's headed. It's certainly handy to have a plan B.
Tell you what, it's all about options. And when you realize that you can put a smile back on your face and realize this is the reason that I go and work so hard, that's when your worldview changes, hope is restored, and abundance is possible. Jamie McIntyre, thanks for your time today.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure, Jason.
Thank you.